Welcome to Insights, everyone. I'm Nnamdi Odipo. All through the year 2020, most citizens of the world battled with living the best they could in the thick of a pandemic. By year's end and the start of 2021, the glimmer of hope that life could return back to a relative normal grew as vaccines emerged and countries began the process of vaccination. Incidentally, and quite surprising, in spite of the growing number of COVID-19 related deaths, we are still confronted by the issue of vaccine hesitancy and people's doubt and intent to take an approved vaccine. I will be speaking to a group of guests on that issue. Elizabeth Omori is with us as usual, and she will be handling a key part of today's episode. Elizabeth?
On the media review segment this week, our topical issue is before us, media and sensationalism. My guest will deal and prefer possible solution on this editorial tactic.
Very well, indeed. Let's begin. Vaccine hesitancy simply refers to delay in the acceptance or refusal of vaccines despite availability and quality of vaccine service. It is quite complex and context-specific, varying across time, place and vaccines, and we do know that it is influenced by several factors. I will be talking about some of those factors with my guest. Dr. Iyeme Ogbonnaya is a family health physician. He joins me now on this program. Doctor, good to have you back on Insight.
Yes, my pleasure as well, Nnamdi. Good morning, Abuja.
I'd like for us to start with a basic question, Doc. Are you surprised as a medical doctor by the level of vaccine hesitancy for COVID-19 here in Nigeria and as a matter of fact across the world?
I'm actually not surprised. Especially with the advent of social media, the deleterious effect of misinformation that is out there. The volume of misinformation on social media is so appalling. I mean, a lot of misinformation, a lot of ignorance is by even learned people, even people that say they are doctors, even people that say they are medical health professionals. They actually go ahead and give people a load of uninformed and facts that are not actually substantiated regarding the COVID, regarding vaccine generally, and then COVID vaccine as a case in point. So I'm not surprised with the apathy and the hairstyles that general hairstyles that a lot of people are actually exhibiting towards the COVID vaccine.
There is no doubt that a lot of people are worried about the efficacy threshold for COVID-19 vaccines. As a severe disease, I mean, should people be worried if a particular vaccine is perhaps at 60% or maybe 70% efficacy threshold?
Yeah, sure, people should be worried. But you know that unfortunately, the AstraZeneca vaccine has been shown to be more than 96% efficacy. So vaccines, basically, if they hit up to that value, I mean, one has no reason not to worry about the efficacy. It means that the efficacy, yes, can be vouched for. Especially when it gets up to that kind of value, it should be vouched for. So it should actually be the safety concerns that should bother people. And the good thing, the beautiful thing about this vaccine is that it has been demonstrated time and over time that most vaccines, like this particular present vaccine, the one that now they were using here in Nigeria, has been shown to be over 95% efficacious. So any vaccine that hits that value, I mean, we shouldn't be worried about how effective it is. Because it has been shown, it is shown to do what it's supposed to do. What one should actually be worried about could be the safety profile. Because of, they hurried production, that even though it still went through the routine trials, clinical trials, it should go to. But I think the hurried production was still is in line with the Emergency Use Act that the WHO has specified for certain medications uses, especially where pandemics are concerned. So the vaccines in question actually met up with the EUA Act. The only issue now is that, we are looking at how it was produced and how fast it came out into the market. But the fact is, it has been shown to have such, up to 95-96% efficacy in terms of prevention of COVID-19. If the complete doses are had. more of the safety profile that we have been, all of the, the social media has now watched with, we have not actually been able to demonstrate that they are actually not safe, apart from the usual, side effects, vaccine side effects we are all used to.
Talking about vaccine side effects, we know some parts of Europe have raised concerns over a possible or likely blood clot caused by some of these vaccines. Should we be worried over that as well?
No, the fact is that even though, yes, some countries have been showing concern, some have even talked about halting distribution of the vaccine supply in their system. Now, a recent publication, a recent pronouncement from WHO sometime last week, actually, yes, even recognizing the fact that there could be safety concerns as far as blood clots are concerned, but those are very, very minor, figures, statistics, which one could not even ascribe as such to the vaccine. It's possible those safety concerns, those particular clots we are talking about, could have actually been due to other reasons, other background problems. The person may be having thrombotic, thrombotic disorders, could be diabetic, hypertension, all kinds of cardiovascular disorders. Now, if the one in a million chance, that probably was the vaccine that actually triggered it. But what the recent pronouncement from the WHO, which was sometimes published last week, tried to absorb the vaccine from any blame as far as those cases have been that were reported are concerned. So the vaccine has actually been absorbed from being a cause from those clots in those cases.
All right, Doc. Let's now take a look at vaccine hesitancy from various perspectives. I will begin with the contextual influences. By this, I mean influences arising due to historical, social, cultural, environmental, health systems, and sometimes institutional systems as well. Let's not forget the economy and political factors. Can you speak to some of these issues as they've played out in Nigeria over time, and how that has in turn impacted on the ongoing COVID-19 vaccinations?
Okay, yeah, very good. I want to remember exactly what happened, played out in the northern part of Nigeria, during the time of oral polio virus, vaccine. A lot of people are making it look like oral polio virus and vaccine is out to cause a lot the population affect, causing male sterility. And that was actually what affected it, except, that again, the plan was to eradicate polio by 2010 or thereabout. But because of those misgivings, all those cultural and traditional misgivings and misinformation, a lot of parents did not bring out their children for the polio vaccine. That actually affected the goal, the set date for eradication of polio, the wild polio virus. Now, the same thing has been playing out again on COVID-19 vaccine. Now, if you open up your social media, you read a lot of conspiracy theories attached to this vaccine. A lot of people are telling you it's about the population of the human population race. Some people are talking about male sterility and all what. Some people are even bringing up all these theories about clots and death and so on and so forth. Of course, it's always easy to get information, cheap information over social media. People are doing all these things and people are forming their opinions. Unfortunately, most of these things are not true. These are not scientifically true. And you get surprised at the level of people who are exhibiting all this, in ignorance, showing this kind of information on social media. It's so sad. It's so disheartening. So I think programs like this, we should keep as much as possible emphasize on the fact that all those information are hogwash. All these information are not acceptable. Whatever traditional and social, cultural practices that are attached to vaccine that have actually caused vaccine, people not the hesitancy of vaccination to previous vaccines in the past. I mean, those have all been found to be untenable. So that's why we want to start early enough to start to emphasize upon people that COVID vaccine is different. COVID vaccine is safe. COVID vaccine is harmless. I mean, we agree that to be some side effects which are associated with normally the vaccine, which are also associated with the X protein that that is not unusual with vaccination. It is not different from COVID vaccination. So the fact remains, we information that we are reading out there, they are not acceptable. Whether they are oral information, or whether they are over the social media, they are not acceptable, and they are not true about COVID-19. That it remains safe.
Incidentally, Doc, you preempted a question I was going to ask you, but I can't but still raise the issue about specific issues directly related to vaccine and vaccination, as well as individual and group influences. That has been very noticeable. With these influences arising from personal perception, of the vaccine, and influences, of course, from social and peer group environment. One that is very surprising is the anti-vaccine campaign by a segment of opinion molders and leaders. And it's quite surprising how strong and how much influence they've been making. How much damage is such campaign, such anti-vaccine campaign, making on the general campaign for vaccination? Let's not mention names here, but a lot of them are there in the public domain.
I agree with you. The damages cannot be quantified. They're actually unquantified. The damages, because these are people, the opinion molders. A lot of people are looking up to them for whatever they say. These are community leaders, opinion molders, people you hold in high esteem in the society. And these are people, unfortunately, who are peddling these rumors, who are peddling bad news, this unfounded news about COVID-19. So the damage, a lot of damage has been done. But the fact still remains, even when these damages keep going on, even when this misinformation keeps going on, it shouldn't still discourage us from doing our own job. Our own job as medical professionals, our own job as medical professionals, as news harbingers, is to keep bringing out the fact as it is. Even when they are giving us this information, which are anti-vaccine, which still in our place to as much as possible bring out the right information, the right fact out there in the public domain. So that being the case, I think we shouldn't get tired. We that are started with the issue of disseminating the right information about the vaccine. We shouldn't get tired, because the truth about it is always like this. This is actually the first stage. This is actually the early times, the early stages of vaccination. We shouldn't get tired. We should actually, as much as possible, make it, give out this information. Like some of us also take this vaccine and as much as to upload them on your social media. Many people see that you are a leader, you're not just talking, but you're also doing.
Well, was that what you did, Doc?
Hello?
Was that what you did? Did you publicize your...
I will do that. I go on my social media page, Facebook, where I have over 10,000 followers, and so on and so on. My WhatsApp, I do that, I upload it. I know that, yes, even with that, you see a lot of negative comments, following that. But the truth about that, negative, I still believe that with these negative comments, with time, it will give way. By the time people start seeing, there's always this issue of naysayers that we always have around us. Now, by the time they start seeing that, yes, the so-called side effects are not there, even if there's going to be mild things that can easily be taken care of by paracetamol. They see that 10 years, 20 years, they are still healthy, they are still in good health, there's no issue with your sterility, and so on and so forth. I'm sure these are things that will encourage a lot of us, a lot of people who ordinarily will not have subscribed to this vaccine to actually want to give it a try. Like, let me give you a statistic. Like the first time I uploaded this picture, I actually widely advertised the vaccination going on in my facility. The first time I advertised, a lot of people were not interested. They were all saying all kinds of negative news. But guess what? Immediately I uploaded, I was able to upload that picture and let people know how safe it is. A lot of people gave me for 8 hours, and when I was saying good health, you believe I got over 50 people showing indicating interest in the vaccine. So I think if a lot of us can continue this strategy, like many people are doing, it will help a lot of, apart from the information that will be given out, in the public space, it's also going to help a lot of people also believe that whatever misinformation they had about the COVID are unfounded, and a lot of people also want to key into the vaccine as the case may be.
Let's quickly go along here. Doc, a lot of people are also curious about the immunity level of a COVID-19 survivor. For instance, at what point can a COVID-19 recovery patient get vaccinated?
Now, usually when you have fully recovered, Ideally, it should give you what they call it should give you its own immunity. Just that the immunity may not actually be 100%. So it's actually encouraged that once you are fully recovered and tested negative, you should go ahead and take your own jab.
Dr. Bunaya, we have seen government officials publicize their acceptance of the first jab of the ongoing AstraZeneca vaccine. Just like you did in your case. Yeah. But in spite of that, we see a growing level of hesitancy, hesitation from people, particularly in rural areas, and we've just made allusions to even that from the particular segments of quite enlightened opinion molders and leaders. What else can be done, and how best can it be done to boost public trust?
Kudos to the leadership of the country. The president and his team, the members of National Assembly, the state governors, and so on and so forth. I think they started well by making sure that they got vaccinated, and this was actually in the public domain. I think we should also take a step further, like go to those rural areas, look for the traditional rulers of those areas, the local government chairman. People should be seen to be taking this vaccine, especially opinion molders in such localities. The so-called big men in such localities should be prepared upon to take this vaccine. Okay. All right, and then as they are doing that, we should also be in the public domain, social media, or even in organized setting meetings where they take it and people see that yes, this vaccine actually safe. And let's lay down on the fear. I think let's lay down the negative information surrounding it. I think with all this, it's going to encourage a lot of rural participation. In the information, the right information being given out, the right leadership being shown as well. I'm sure it's going to impact a lot. It's going to impact a lot on the rural populace, on the people. A lot more people will embrace the vaccine, even in the rural area.
Dr. Obunaya, whether we like it or not, and whether there's increased publicity or not, is it true that there will still, be a segment of society that remains resistant, no matter what you do or say?
Sure, of course. Like I said, there will always be naysayers in every activity in life. That's why the energy the negative energy should not in any way affect your own performance. That's why we need to keep it up, because a lot of people will actually want to participate, but because of the negative information, the misinformation they are getting elsewhere. So if we're able to make sure our own information, the proper information, the rightful information, get across more solid, more loaded, more informative out there to those ones who have not made up their mind, those ones who have not made up their mind whether to take or not. I'm sure in the long run, a lot more people will join this trend. And before you know it, even those ones that are expending their energy, spreading anti-vaccine information out there, by the time they now see that they are the ones left, the odd ones left, I'm sure they will have no other option, because they now see, yes, those things that they will campaign against are not actually true. Nobody is dying, no side effects, no severe side effects are not coming. And before you know it, the rate of infections of COVID-19 are actually going down. Like what you see going on in the Americas right now. People are taking the virus and vaccines, and the rate of infections actually going down. By the time this hard statistics are shown them, I'm sure that even the worst antagonists of the vaccine will also want to join the ship.
Dr. Ogbuna, just before I let you go, and very quickly too, is vaccination the magic wand that we've been waiting for to not just take us back to how life was prior to COVID-19, prior to the pandemic? Is that it?
Sure. It's still early days yet in this fight against COVID-19. This vaccination has always been the magic wand, so to say, that the world has been waiting for, and here it is with us. Yes, be that as it may, even though we know there are certain gray areas around the vaccine, there are certain unaddressed issues around that vaccine. But like I said, because it just came in, it was just introduced, and people are following it up gradually. Yes, all those gray areas, I'm sure, will carry over. And that it has been set out to do, it must eventually accomplish. And that is prevention, which we all know is better than cure.
Dr. Yemi Ogbonnaya, family health physician, I want to thank you so much for for coming on Insight. It's been a pleasure speaking with you on this matter. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
My pleasure is always here, Mr. Nami.
Still on vaccine hesitancy and the way forward, I brought a couple of my colleagues on the program to speak to their personal experiences on the ongoing COVID-19 vaccination. Ruth Aguele is a newscaster and reporter. Usman Aliu is a news producer, and Victor Azu is also a news producer and presenter. Besides the NTA, another common denominator amongst all of my guests is that all three have gotten the first jab of COVID-19 vaccine, and they all did in the last 2 weeks. Gentlemen, gentle lady, welcome to Insight.
Many thanks, Namdi, and we are happy to meet you here.
Victor?
Thank you for having me, Namdi.
Ruth?
It's good to be here.
I think I'll start with the lady. Ladies first. And Ruth, I'd like to ask, were you somewhat surprised over the level of vaccine hesitancy that began to play out in Nigeria in the immediate aftermath of the arrival of vaccines in the country? In fact, as a matter of fact, even before then.
Thank you for that. I wasn't surprised because before the vaccine arrived, there was expectation from people who understand the importance of having the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine, into the country and how it will help, reduce the spread of the virus. Though it's not been proven that 100% guarantee even when you take the vaccine. But when the vaccine arrived, people were excited that, okay, we're going to get vaccinated. Maybe this is the end of the virus. But again, there was hesitancy because some persons were scared. There was this conspiracy theories that when you take it, you react in this way. There were different kind of, stuff going on the social media, discouraging people who would have loved to take the vaccine. But with sensitization, even me, slightly, I had my doubts because of what I was seeing. But because of what I have read and what I know...
For a fact?
Yes. As an educated person, I wasn't, reluctant to take the vaccine, but it was good,
We'll talk about your personal experience.
Okay.
Of course, we'll come to that. But
Okay.
I'll quickly like to cross over to Usman. Usman, there is a precedent. I mean, it has happened, and the vaccine hesitancy has played out time and time again. We're seeing that happen with COVID-19. I mean, considering how deadly and how severe it was and the increasing death, I mean, we're still recording that till date. Were you surprised that people did not troop out? I mean, or rather, let me paraphrase. And were you surprised that there are people resisting the vaccination for COVID-19?
Yeah, of course, I'm very much surprised because many people have that information at the back of their mind that the safety of the vaccine, because it's controversial in some places like the Europe and other countries. Some countries were rejecting even the one we are taking here in Nigeria, the Oxford AstraZeneca. So many people are skeptical. Even I myself, before I took the jab, in the beginning I was even afraid to even come out. But later I was summoned courage. I was able to take it. So that fear is what characterizes what people feel all over the country, and I think it is what associated to people not coming out voluntarily. And again, there have been complaints we heard from people that in some rural areas they don't know how to even go and get these vaccines, because I learned a lot of people wanted to be vaccinated but could not get. When I took my jab, I posted it on the Facebook. People saw it. My immediate family, my friends out there, not here in Abuja, were surprised and said that they are willing to take two. But because of the availability of the vaccine, they said they don't have it. So they were even saying if they have it, they will take it. And I think it encouraged people by seeing other people taking it and they get vaccinated. So I think people need to know and need to have the access to these vaccines for them to get involved and get involved in this vaccination campaign.
Usman, I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. We're newsmakers. We hunt for news. We seek out information, and it's our responsibility to put this information out there for the benefit of the populace. Victor, we've heard from Ruth, we've heard from Usman. There was some level of apprehension prior to when both of them took the first jab of the vaccine. Did that also happen with you?
Well, absolutely not. In my own case, I actually expected it. At every opportunity that I got prior to the vaccines being available, I had asked people when I presented programs and I got to talk with the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency personnel and all of that. I asked them, in your plans for those that should be given priority, do you have the media at all at the back of your mind? I think I challenged a couple of persons, and so I anticipated it in my own case. And when I meet those who were skeptical, I mean, in every circle you'll find somebody who is a skeptic. I will tell them when they say, oh, I don't want to do this, I say, well, I'm expecting it. I'm just waiting for the thing to come and I can get it done. And indeed, when I got the jab, it was nothing more than the feeling that you get when you are pierced. I've had vaccines before, and so this wasn't any different. I felt that pain for a few days, which is normal when you have a sore. After which, things went, today I don't feel anything, and I left the point of vaccination almost immediately because I was late for an assignment. I felt okay throughout, and I felt okay to date.
So for you, there was no fever in the immediate aftermath of administration?
None whatsoever.
How long did the pain subside?
I can't remember when it disappeared, actually, but I know that for a few days after I got the jab, I know I still could feel it at that point, which is nothing unusual as far as I'm concerned. You know, if you pierce your body with a needle, for instance, you're going to feel it for a while. If you touch it, you feel it. And that's what happened. I didn't know when it vanished.
Ruth, you overcame your fear, you took the first jab, and what happened in the immediate aftermath?
Well,
were there any symptoms?
Of course, there was, but that first day I took it, I was actually busy, I was working, so I didn't really feel anything. I took it in the towards afternoon period, so when I woke up the next day, it was like a new me. You know, my arm, I couldn't raise it, I was feeling weak, kind of feverish. But I had to come to the office, and that was when I was advised to take pain reliever. And when I took that, and then I was also advised to sleep. That maybe it's because I pushed myself too hard the day I took it. Yeah, so I needed to rest after taking it. So when I rested, took the pain reliever, the following day I was back to normal. I was okay.
Usman, I know a bit. You and I work closely together. We have for a couple of years, as a matter of fact. So I know a bit about your medical history. Forgive me, but I'll need to raise it here in the program. I know you are hypertensive, and I don't know, how did that affect your decision? Did you think about your underlying health issue, having hypertension, and how did that affect your decision to take the jab?
Yeah, I've consulted my doctor that I'm seeing, and he assured me that it's nothing. But after I've taken, some people call me, why will you go and take this kind of vaccine that you are not sure of? I say no. There was nothing out of it, and I did not feel anything. And there was no any pain. I did not notice anything. If it was only my hand that was at night that I felt some pains, but in the morning it's over. I cannot feel anything, and up to now, more than 2 weeks from taking the vaccine, now I'm okay. I don't have any feelings, and even it's only when I read again, you know, as inquisitive as we are, I read about taking vaccination. I learned that some people have to get isolated, but even though it's not, this is not coming from the wider cycle of the medical personnel. There's one doctor and commissioner from United States of America that is saying if you take a vaccine, you have to isolate so that you will not infect some people. And so I did not isolate, and I was thinking whether I should go and get this isolation. But I associated with my family, and nothing happens, and even my children are saying, Baba, you've taken this thing and nothing happens, so we can take it too.
Guys, I mean, we've seen pictures of prominent political leaders, religious leaders, you know, people from the private sector as well, publicizing the administration of the vaccine on them. I mean, when they actually took the dose. I mean, should we play up more of things like that just so we encourage people to go out? there and partake in the exercise, Ruth?
Yeah, I think that's one strategy, you know, you could raise awareness in terms of advising people, encouraging them rather to take the vaccine. Because a lot of people, to be honest, Nnamdi, a lot of people are still not certified that this vaccine, the efficacy of it, people are still scared. I know close people to me who will still say no. And then the whole conspiracy theory of the religious aspect, so to say, you know, I think more awareness beyond what we see. Yes, the media is very powerful, but I think they should take the campaign more forward by going physically to prove that we are normal, we're okay. And we also, as media persons, we have a strong role to play. We can do that in our own little cycles to encourage people to take the vaccine.
Perfect. Usman, would you like to add something to that?
Yes, and I think what we should be doing now is to get people more informed, especially about the side effect. Now, people are circulating that this blood clot that is coming up among people who have taken it. So people should understand that this side effect is not even, I cannot see anybody in Nigeria.
No, it's actually a very rare case.
Yes,
I mean,
so people are now capitalizing on that side effect to condemn the whole vaccine exercise. And so people should understand more about the side effect.
Like Ruth said, it's our responsibility to put out more information out there and make people understand the importance and relevance of taking the vaccines. Victor, I mean, you go out every day, and when you do not, you have reporters coming back to the newsroom and filing in reports, and you go through some of these reports. It's amazing some of the stories you hear out there about vaccine hesitancy and some of the misinformation and disinformation being dished or being put out there. Can you just tell us some of the tales, and I call them tales, you've heard, and how you how you were able to readily and quickly dismiss some of this misinformation?
Well, I wouldn't say outrightly that they are all misinformation. For instance,
fears. Do I say some of these fears?
Yeah, if you ask, is there blood clot somewhere with regards to the vaccine, the answer is yes. And so those who are waiting for the slightest nudge, to abstain, will jump at it. If you say, okay, some people got the jab and then they still tell you, you have to mask, you have to do this and that. I mean, we've all taken vaccines before. You take vaccines and they say, well, you are insulated, kind of. You are free from this. So this is a different case. Perhaps because it's novel, I am enlightened enough to say, look, this is new. They are trying to find the best way to deal with this. But a lot of people jump at it because they are looking for, they are already skeptical. And so once there are doubts, no matter how minute, they jump at it and they take that with them. But for me, as an enlightened person, regrettably, really, I didn't take pictures or videos of when I was being vaccinated. Okay. But immediately I did, I went to certain platforms where I belonged. I said, oh, I could have taken this. I was in a hurry, so I didn't think of all that. I just went and said, look, I've taken my first jab. Who's next? And I must say, someone asked me, said, look, your sister is a medic. She hasn't taken. And you have just run to go and take yours. And I said, well, there may be a reason why she hasn't taken. And indeed, when I interacted with her, she said she happens to fall into one of the categories of women who are exempt from the COVID-19 vaccines at the moment. So, you see, if I didn't ask, I'll say, well, this is a medic who should know better. She's not taking it.
Very true. Victor, I agree with you. I mean, to the extent of saying there are genuine fears, and of course there are genuine concerns. There are people with genuine concerns. I totally agree with that. You talked about the issue of the cloth somewhere in Europe. Of course, very rare cases, but they were established. It's still being looked and investigated as we speak. And of course, we know that certain countries in Europe as well have planned to stay actions on vaccination for people within certain age brackets. But when I talked about some really ridiculous, and I mean ridiculous stories and tales being put out there, and you go to social media and you see it's rife in the social media. You see stories and pictures of people who they say were administered with the first jab of the vaccines, and then they start going wacko, and you know, and these are tales and stories that I'm talking about. How do you dismiss such? And that was exactly my question to you.
Well, I think that, to be honest, most of the experiences that Nigerians get scared of happened elsewhere, not in the country. I'm not sure I have heard of someone who had blood clots, for instance, within the country. That much should encourage people to go ahead and get vaccinated, because systems differ. There are certain meds that I'll take that if you take them may not augur well for your system, may not do well with your system, but I'll take them and just be fine. It's natural. And so when I took mine, I found a bigger reason to say, look, I have had mine, and I think you should get yours. There's no reason bigger than that I've taken mine, and you should also get yours. Most of the people who say, well, we can't, I won't take it because this happens, and I ask, look at your colleagues, look at your friends, look at family. How many of them have taken, and how many have reacted adversely to it?
Usman, I'd like to come to you now, and that's because you actually you put yourself out there and you are a shining example of how messages can be sent. I mean, messages on vaccination, and as a result of what you did, your family and your friends also embraced vaccination as well. I mean, you hear stories, and ridiculous stories like the one I just talked about a couple of minutes ago. How do you dismiss them when these stories get to you?
Yeah, we're trying to explain to people, particularly when I see it on social media. It happens that one of those people that sent, I know him, he sent one speculated message. Then I sent him my picture. I know him personally, he's a friend. I show him my picture, how I took it, and he get encouraged and say, oh, so he was just not sure when he said it. That was what he told me. So he said if he has it now available, he will be ready and willing to take the jab, since many people are taken and did not die as they are speculating.
I mean, all of you guys are still alive. You're here, you're healthy, you're strong,
we're healthy,
you're
strong.
better for it. You're waiting for the second, excitedly waiting for the second jab, which we understand will come in due time. Ruth, very quickly, you started a discourse on taking advantage of the tremendous opportunity to inform the public about the vaccine. I mean, how else can we do that? I mean, we're in the mainstream media. Do you think we can also take advantage of the enormous opportunity in the social media to perhaps send out positive messages on the vaccination as well?
Yes, very strategic for us, because we have the tools, you know, to generate this information. So we can actually record or use ourselves as examples. We can go to persons who have taken it, you know, do like a special report and post it out there. That's one way to, you know, create awareness. And one more thing, why people are discouraged. One of the reasons, from what Victor said, his sister didn't take it because of her own reason, as maybe pregnant or you're breastfeeding.
No, she was exempted because you know, initially when the vaccination started, and it was for people or persons within a specific age bracket.
Yes.
At that point, she wasn't. I want to think or suspect she wasn't up to 50 yet at the time. But you know, weeks later, the exemption was removed, and it was given to just about anybody within. If for instance, you're a frontline health worker, and then, you know, and other classes of people as well. But please continue.
Okay, what I'm trying to say, you know, pregnant women and breastfeeding mothers are not supposed to take the vaccine, from what we hear. But one clause to this is that when the vaccine was being administered, we were not questioned. Some women can be pregnant in their first trimester. Okay. Some women can be breastfeeding and you wouldn't know. You've already administered the vaccine to them. I think there should be more like a small sensitization before people are given the vaccine, just for those certain kind of women. And then, like I was saying earlier, aside generating this special reports and post it online, because the online is just the new media, you know, we can also use, we can also take a step further by going to some of these rural communities to demonstrate that we can actually survive after taking the COVID-19 vaccine.
Victor?
Well, I agree with you, Ruth, you know, perfectly. She got it right. We can also go beyond that. For instance, this program is one of the ways through which you could get people to get interested or even get vaccinated. Another, perhaps a promo, because this will run maybe once or twice and it fizzles out. But if you have a promo of people who have been vaccinated, who say, for instance, I have got my jab, have you? Or get yours, you know, stuff like that. That runs from time to time and runs for a long period of time. And when people see the ordinary me, for instance, the ordinary Ruth, the ordinary Usman, well, they say this is not some politician, because some people also came up with that conspiracy theory that the politicians are being injected with ordinary water. And so that becomes another problem. But if they find someone as lowly, as close to them as can be, who says, I have been vaccinated, or shows you a picture, they'll say, yes, I think there's some truth in this. And I think they believe them the more.
Gentlemen, it's been fantastic. It's been a delight listening to your takes, to your opinions rather, on this very delicate, very critical issue. Information is critical, and I think the more we sensitize the populace, sensitize the people on the imperatives for vaccination, the better it is for all of us. And of course, Usman, just before we go, you raised the historical perspective to this issue when you brought up the polio in the north at the time, if I'm not mistaken. Are there specific approaches that we can use perhaps in the north, and not just the north now, but generally in parts of Nigeria, indigenous, native, approaches perhaps that can throw up sensitization and make people better realize the importance of these ongoing vaccination for COVID-19?
Yes, of course. We have to go through massive enlightenment campaign about this vaccination, because there are...
But how do we make these messages relatable or more relatable to the people?
Yes, we have ways and means of communicating to people at this era now that we have technology in our hands. So we can
But the technologies are not in the rural areas.
We have. There are a lot of things which you can... Advocacy has so many forms. You can print out some posters and go liaise with the traditional rulers, liaise with community leaders, religious leaders. Matters a lot on this campaign about the enlightenment of people on this vaccination. If you are able to catch them, I think there are opinion leaders who can mold and inform people about the efficacy and the need for this vaccination campaign, for all of us to be safe and more productive in protecting our country and projecting it. I think we need more of this enlightenment, door-to-door enlightenment campaign from these leaders particularly.
Inamdi, if I could
I totally concur with you, Usman. Yeah, Ruth, please go ahead.
Okay, one area also we haven't looked at, entertainers, musicians. It goes a long way. People listen to them. People listen to, music of all kinds, traditional music. So, the health board can also tap on that.
Victor, very quickly.
Well, apart from musicians, you can also, let's just say celebrities. You can take celebrities who have followers. You go on Instagram, for instance, you have someone who has 10 million followers.
Exactly.
For nothing. If you tell them that, oh, I've got my job, you should get yours, that goes a long way.
Perfect. Social media influencers. Gentlemen, gentle lady, I want to thank you so much for coming on Insight. Victor Azu, Ruth Aguele, Usman Aliu, I want to thank you so much for gracing us with your presence on Insight. It's been a pleasure having you on board. Thank you so much for coming. Victor?
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
And that's it on this segment of the program. Elizabeth Omori is up next.
Thanks for joining us on the Media Review segment. Media sensationalism, according to Wikipedia, is a type of editorial tactic in which events and topics in news stories are selected to excite a larger percentage of readers or viewers. This style of news report encourages emotionally loaded impressions rather than neutrality, which some scholars believe may cause a manipulation of the truth. What are the effects of sensationalism on journalism and the nation? My guest will dwell on the matter before us. Mr. Francis Omoso is the Executive Secretary, Nigerian Press Council, and Victor Kene Alado, Deputy Director, Nigerian Press Council. It's nice to have you gentlemen in our studio.
Thank you very
so much.
Now, I'll start with you, Mr. Onwosu. Sensationalism, this style, if adopted by a reporter, is assumed that the reporter is writing to boost advert sales or the media organization. What is your position on sensationalism?
Thank you very much. Sensationalism, as you rightly pointed out in your introduction, is a manipulation by the writer or the broadcaster to gain some popularity or attract a segment of the society towards a perceived impression or opinion. But in the balanced news reports, the sensationalism is hardly part of a good news write-up. And here in Nigeria, we have seen several of such issues, and many times all over, and that is the reason there is always a need for journalists or newscasters to always be objective in their report or presentation. We have had to work on that in the Nigerian Press Council because we take a very serious time each day to look at all the news reports from the newspapers, look at them at particularly issues of manipulation of the public opinion, issues that tend towards creating some problem in the society. We'll try to get those things and then write back to such media houses and pointing out those lapses or what we call infractions in the ethics of journalism.
Why is this not a good style? Because some sell through this.
It is not a good style.
Okay.
It is absolutely not a good style because it can lead to, it can ignite a crisis, for instance. And then some people can pick it up from there. Before you know it, it can spill over into a crisis that may not be able to contend with. For instance, we had a case of a report recently by one of the leading newspapers in the country talking about killings in some section of the country of certain individuals, of personalities from one section of the country. This kind of report, I keep saying it, it is not in the interest of this country. Given the political and ethnic crisis and religious problems we are currently trying to contend with. So sensational reporting does not have a good place in our national development. And that is what we must every Nigerian must put hands together to fight against it.
Mr. Onwosu, I'll come back to you later. Mr. Victor, what are the potential effects of this on journalism and nation building?
Look at the effects. Most of these things have reprisal attacks, especially when you treat it according to one tribal or religious set. You get, it might ignite further attack, thinking you're trying to checkmate it, but it doesn't work that way. If you keep reporting such stories, making it so sensational that you think you are favoring one section of the country, especially now that the government is trying to, at least to handle the issue of insecurity, kidnapping, insanity and all that. So it has multiplier effect. Moreover, going by our code of ethics, it's totally unethical to indulge in this sensational reporting. If you go to the code of ethics, we talk about public interest. We talk about a journalist must ensure talking about national unity and public good. But what is the aspect of social responsibility? That issue of trying to enhance, trying to promote justice, democracy, the good of society. Let there be peace, international understanding. But this aspect of this art of social writing does not promote these qualities we are talking about. So that is why we condemn it in entirety.
Condemn it in entirety.
Yes,
all right,
please.
no doubt the social media space has been fully embraced, but the platforms still compete with the conventional media. Can this be controlled? Because the social media space is quite huge. And I ask because it looks like people really believe in what they see on the social media. Mr. Victor.
Yes, on that, for now, we are trying to see how we can be able to control that area, especially in social media. Though the NCC has a kind of responsibility for now to checkmate that area. Because for we on traditional media, there's no how you can pinpoint the media house or the journalist, you can pinpoint the newspaper or the newspaper house. But for this family, anybody, it's all commerce affairs. Those that are not journalists, those that are just free writers, there's no way you can be able to share whatever. Someone will just wake up and cook up a story and post. There was a time one story was published by another reading newspaper. I discovered that he lifted, there was a crisis, I think, in Southern Arabia. So what he did was to leave the picture in social media and put in social media. So we kicked against that. People have been doing it, but there's no way we can checkmate them for now. But I believe that in future there will be laws that will checkmate those publications. In fact, in other clans, people are holding on the media handles to be able to checkmate them. Facebook, and so on and so forth. You start from checkmating them. Those stories that are fake, those that are now bringing out these sensational news items, they can start to blocking them from the providers, the owners of those platforms. That is what we are doing for now.
As the Executive Secretary of the National Council, let's talk about free writers. What is the council doing to curb their activities, to stop them from writing certain things that are not professional?
Right now, it is like an all-commerce game. They play it, they do what they like. There is no regulation for them. But we believe that in the shortest time, in the future, we'll have to get a regulation for the online media activities.
Interesting. Mr. Victor, before I take you on the next question, what are your thoughts on this online media?
Most of them, you do not know them. Where are they coming from? So it's when you know which channel they are using, you're able to control them. So if we have some legislature that's able to get these people, just as I said, under one umbrella, be able to know from which channel, from which platform they are coming from. How do we start? Where do we start from? You can start from checkmating from what they send through those channels. Is it from Facebook? Is it from Twitter handle? Wherever they are coming from, whatever blogs they are coming from, be able to checkmate it from there before we get to the agency that's in charge, holistically, about limiting this online publication. I think with that, it will help to go a long way to stop some of these stories, especially the sensational ones. We cannot do it with it, but there should be regulation to regulate it. Most times, people don't now wait till you get the newspaper to read. There are times you browse through the web, the internet, to see what is on. But some also do have to cross-check with traditional media. These things they are seeing online, is it true? Some go to the newspaper to read because they believe that whatever is published, that one has about...
Authentic.
Yes, it's more authentic.
Mr. Nwosu, what is the way forward? How do we promote professionalism?
Yes, very important. By legislation.
Okay.
By legislation in the sense that the Nigerian Press Council should be much better equipped to do its job. We have a crop of good hands, trusted journalists in the employment of the council, researchers, and other personnel. We need a strong legislation that would give the Nigerian Press Council the powers, the authority, and the funding to move to do its work effectively. That way, we can deal with this problem and know how to appropriately handle each journalist.
Mr. Victor, what are your thoughts?
For you to be a journalist, you must be qualified to practice as a journalist. Then you must be registered. Your name should appear in the register of journalists. Then you must obey the code of ethics. The code of ethics was not given by government. It is something that was agreed by NPO, made up of NUJ, NGE, and PAN. So as long as you support that there's need for legislation, there's responsibility in freedom.
There's responsibility in freedom.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on Insights.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much. And that's it on the Media Review segment this week.
And that's it on this episode of the program. Do join us same time next week for more on Insight. I'm Nnamdi Odipo.
And I'm Elizabeth Omori. Stay safe.
Elizabeth Amai. I am here to talk about facts. There is so much misinformation and distortion out there,